So I'm a father of one. I gotta find a babysitter. I found Care.com and I was blown away. Through the platform, I was able to find local and experienced candidates along with their reviews and rates, which were way more affordable than I anticipated. Care.com really put me at ease knowing that they were all required to go through a background check. If you're like me and you need to find someone reliable for your childcare necessities, check out Care.com. Find the ideal sitters for your childcare needs.
This is GoPowerCat.com publisher Tim Fitzgerald with great news to share with our valued 24/7 Sports VIP members. As a way of saying thank you, a subscription to a CBS All-Access commercial-free plan is now included with your 24/7 Sports VIP membership at no additional cost. Watch all of your favorite shows on demand along with exclusive access to GoPowerCat's award-winning and one-of-a-kind coverage of Kansas State sports. Stream more than 10,000 episodes, all access originals, and live TV, including NFL on CBS games. Enjoy the CBS All Access commercial-free plan, a $99.99 annual value for the lifetime of your 24/7 Sports VIP membership. It's an incredible added value for our subscribers, and it's time you probably take advantage of this deal and become a GoPowerCat member. And remember to subscribe to the Powercat Podcast at your favorite podcast provider, including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. Now, here is your Powercat Podcast.
The following is a GoPowerCat.com and Spirit Street production. You've discovered your link to GoPowerCat.com's Powercat Insiders Podcast, presented by Commerce Bank, and it starts right now. Now, let's go to the WTC Gig-Powered Studios. Here's your host, GoPowerCat.com publisher, Tim Fitzgerald.
Welcome to another edition of the Powercat Insiders Podcast, sponsored by Commerce Bank. Tim Fitzgerald, Matt Walters, Kellis Robinette, Ryan Black. If we haven't explained enough where we all work, just read it on the website. There's writers, there's radio guys, and there's a monkey with a podcast, all in one room talking to you about Kansas State sports. That's basically what we do. These boys were down in Austin, Texas to see a loss by the Wildcats, a very interesting game. We'll get into that. I was in Vegas to see a win by the Wildcats in a less interesting game, but Kansas State found a way to win, which is remarkable or notable in itself. So we'll talk about that a little bit. But we are sponsored by Commerce Bank.
Life is full of moments, big and small. Commerce Bank has the technology and the people to help with whatever financial challenges come your way. Commerce Bank, challenge accepted.
How was Austin, Texas? Did anyone do barbecue?
I did.
Twice.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Salt Lake?
I only did it once. I did it yesterday.
What'd you do?
I went to Micklethwait.
I don't know what that is.
Just right down the street from Franklin. It's right. It was ranked in the top 10 of Texas Monthly's most recent rankings.
Nice.
Say that again.
It's called Micklethwait, and so it's spelled Micklewait, and the TH is silent.
Gotcha.
And they have a trailer.
Interesting.
But yeah, I think they've been around about 7 years now, because like all their stuff has 2012. So I just knew I told Fitz this when I got into the office here, but I drove, and it's a lot longer drive than I actually was expecting. So I got into Austin at 3 a.m. I got back here at 3 a.m. this morning, so I'm exhausted. But what I'm getting at is that I just knew I did not want to go stand in line at Franklin, and I knew I'd have to get up extremely early to do that. So I knew Micklethwait, it would have some kind of line, but it would have a wait. But I knew it wouldn't be as long as Franklin, and it was very good. I mean, I still do want to make it to Franklin one day. I just have not made it yet.
Kels, your parents still down there?
Yep, I stayed with them.
That's awesome. That's always a good trip. You get to see the parents and do your job.
Yeah. I did a radio show with K-Man down there live, and they came down and watched it.
Nice. That's fun.
Proud.
That's
Did
fun.
they have a sign? Did they hold up? Hey, that's our boy up there.
This is our boy.
They should have, man. Now, I'm displeased with them. But
So where did you eat? You said you had barbecue twice.
I had Cooper's, which I'd never actually been to, but in an upset, it was really good. I had a beef rib there that was probably the best I've had.
Nice.
And then yesterday, just before I left, I had Rudy's.
Okay, so
But, I mean, it's not glamorous, but the brisket was still really good. So
My one meal was Lupe tortillas.
Oh, how was that?
Oh, that's good, too.
Solid.
I got to be honest. It's hard. If you're in Texas, the barbecue and the Mexican, it's hard to go wrong with me. Mm-hmm. I like Texas barbecue. I take Kansas City, but to me, they're really close.
I want to hit the food truck
argument.
scene someday. I've never been able to do that.
Wear a fedora. You'll look good.
Okay, thank you.
Wear a
I
fedora.
look good in anything.
That's true. That's a
Ball cap, visor, fedora, you name it.
unicorn hat.
Right.
Thoughts on the game? I did not get to see the game, and I haven't had a chance to review it. I watched it some on my laptop as the basketball game was going on, but I was also trying to actually work and cover the basketball game, and I totally missed the ending sequence. Kellis, let's start with you. Just give me your general thoughts on that football game.
Dream first quarter, and then a butt whooping the rest of the way. They knew exactly how to hit Texas early and surprised them with one really good play and then a really nice drive. And then, Texas made some adjustments and overall talent took over from there. Yeah. And, I mean, credit Kansas State for coming back late. The kickoff return for the touchdown, just like at Mississippi State, took advantage of some penalties and kicked that late field goal to tie it. I think Texas, to me, I thought it was pretty clear they were the better team, but kind of just a missed opportunity. When you go up 14-0 on the road, it's hard to waste that and lose.
Well, I got to admit that I thought if you hit Texas in the jaw to start the game, which K-State did, they'd buckle. They didn't, so credit Tom Herman and company for kind of rallying the troops and finding a way to win, because that game was critical to Texas. What were your thoughts?
Well, and it's funny you bring that up because that was actually – because I was interested myself in that, so I went and looked it up and tweeted that exact stat. That was the fourth time this year that Texas has been held scoreless in the first quarter, and now their record's 2-2. The other two games, they lost to Oklahoma and LSU, and then they beat Oklahoma State and now K-State. So I'm just saying that I was intrigued to see, well, how often has this team ever been held scoreless in the first quarter? Because, I mean, again, I don't cover Texas regularly, and I can't sit here and say that off the top of my head I knew it. So I just kind of knew they were going to make some kind of comeback. I guess I'm just so split on whether to say this is an encouraging loss. I mean, some people say there's no such thing. And especially now, hey, they debuted at number 16 in the college football playoff rankings, and I think maybe the expectations have been raised because of that. But I still think we all knew this because we've talked about it so much during the year on this podcast that, if both teams play their best, Texas is just a better team because they just have more talent top to bottom. But I will have to say, like Kellis mentioned, I mean, I know the final score looks super close, and it was, but it was just that, again, if you take away the kickoff return, I mean, their offense just did really nothing. After the Mason Barta fumble, it just did not seem like they had the same rhythm for the rest of the game.
That was a fumble, by the way. Not in the NFL, probably, but in college football. It was. He didn't get it tucked away, but I think he had hold of it. Matt, what went wrong with that offense after that fast start?
Well, Texas did make some adjustments, and I tell you up front, they got three dudes, 300 plus, Coburn, Roach, and company. Coburn's the cat that weighs 340. And he was just hard to move. I mean, K-State averaged less than 2 yards a carry. The couple of things that stand out is when it's 14-0, K-State had a couple of chances to do some things to blow it open, but I still have nightmares about the 3rd and 14 conversion.
That was bad.
Late in that drive. Ellinger made some really good passes, made some good plays in the ball game. K-State didn't let him go crazy, but Ingram winds up having a big day, and he's a beast. I mean, Texas has better talent. I walked out of that stadium Saturday night thinking, man, how does this team not this team, but how does Texas lose? I mean, they should be 11-1 or 10-2 every year. If K-State does a couple things, maybe they win that ball game, but it doesn't happen, and now you just have to go beat West Virginia, and then to me, right, wrong, or otherwise, you have to win one of your last two.
As they win those three games, particularly the Oklahoma game, you kind of forget that this K-State team lacks the kind of depth you need in this conference. Now with the running back injuries, it's a little more apparent. A.J. Parker at corner, Although I thought the corners did a fairly decent job in this game.
Think about it. I mean, Texas had scored 36 plus 6 times. K-State held them to 27. And we've talked about this for years. I'm hoping Chris Kleiman and his staff can recruit some A, bigger wide receivers,
right,
and B, taller corners.
Right.
Malik Knowles is going to be good, but K-State's got to get more 6'3", 6'4" dudes out on the edge.
They just got to get more. I mean, I think it's fair to say that. They've got some very good players. They just don't have enough. And then when you match up, like all you guys said, when you match up with a team like Texas, it just shows. It shows, and you might out-scheme them and outplay them for a while. But if they get going, you're in trouble, and that's exactly what happened. They run blitzed all day long, and they just don't have the answer for that right now.
I'm going to tell you this, that you watch Joseph Osai, all things being equal, and doesn't have one of those major injuries, that guy is going to be legit in the NFL. Holy smokes, was he impressive physically. 6'4", 245.
Those are my measurements.
Right.
Well, I've got another 80 pounds, but I do have. Well, I'm only 6'3". I'm essentially that same thing. That's what I'm trying to say.
So you're saying you would play like nose tackle if we had a team?
I would have been a very good offensive lineman if I had actually put on weight.
In the right places?
In the right places. And I went to college at 6'1", 175.
I'm staying out of this.
So I came back home at almost 6'4" and 225 for Christmas.
After your first semester?
First semester.
You gained 3 inches of height?
I grew 2.5 inches and put on 50 pounds my first semester of college.
Man.
So a lot of that was beer and pizza, but I can't blame the growth height on that.
A different kind of freshman 15.
It was a freshman 50. It was impressive.
Texas has talent.
Oh, of course they do. And I really like Sam Ellinger or Ellinger or whatever it is. I say it both ways. I
thought I read, I actually had to look this up before I asked Kleiman a question about him. I think they say it's a hard G. I think it's Ellinger.
It is. No, I think it's Ellinger.
Gur? Is it?
Yeah.
Well, then the article I read was wrong.
Ellinger.
Well, I'll be.
Gur. And I once want to say Jur just because I'm an idiot. But he's good, and he was really good on that last drive. What I saw, he was just plucking away and making plays, and that's what good quarterbacks do.
Think about the tandem at wide receiver they have in Duvernay and Johnson.
Mm-hmm. Not bad.
And bounce around the Big 12. I mean, I don't know that anybody else has that kind of combination. Baylor's might be close, but Duvernay and Johnson are, to me, the best 1-2 punch.
What about Rambo and Lamb?
If you were to ask me, I would put Lamb 1 and the other guy 4, and I would put Duvernay and Johnson at 2 and 3.
That's fair.
They're the better tandem, in my opinion.
They're more physically imposing, that's for sure.
Now, they may not be as productive, but if you're starting a team and you had to pick between, I see what you're saying. Yeah. I mean,
of the 4 Lambs, the best.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No question.
But then Duvernay and Johnson are. I mean, Duvernay's caught 2/3
That's incredible.
of the passes thrown by Ellinger. That's ridiculous.
Plus, he's named Duvernay, which is cool.
And he's got a brother that is pretty healthy.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, they both finished. You were talking about Duvernay and Colin Johnson both finished with exactly 110 yards apiece. Very solid performance for both of them.
Kellis, I'd come back to this. K-State's 6-3.
Yeah, pretty good.
6-3 at this point of the season is probably a little bit ahead of schedule from what all of us thought they'd be.
Oh, yeah.
And they should beat West Virginia. Mm-hmm. The last 2 are kind of toss-ups.
Yep.
But as long as they take care of this next one, they'll be at 7 wins. I guess the question I had coming out of this game is what Texas did copyable? Could other teams take that defensive approach and do the same thing? Because if they can, then that's not great for Kansas State. Because they basically lined up and said, you're not going to run the QB draw. You're not going to run it all. And if you do throw, well, basically, Skyler, you're going to have to beat us with your arm. And he couldn't do it over the course of a game. And
I think they'll try it.
They just have the dudes that can do it.
That's exactly it.
That's it.
I don't know if Tech tries that, is it going to blow up in their face?
Could.
I don't know, but
I'll say this. I would try it if I was the opposition. It may not work. You can get out of it, but I would certainly try it.
If you can hold K-State to 51 rushing yards, you got a good chance of winning. I don't know if anybody else can do it, but that opened some eyes to me that, yeah, you've got – I mean, if I were another defense, I would just sell out against the run.
I sell out, especially if K-State only has 2 of its 3 running back weapons available.
Right.
If either Jordan Brown, if he's out, and again, his carries were limited, you had just 7. And if James Gilbert's out, then I would.
The running back situation really wasn't much different than it was at Kansas.
No.
Found that interesting.
Just more Tyler Burns, Joe Irvin.
But the dude's
Did Joe Irvin even play?
No.
He didn't go.
No, he didn't even try.
Okay, so they're trying to preserve the red shirt then.
I think he's been concussed.
I think he was dinged up.
Oh, well, maybe that will decide, and they'll just keep the red shirt on him.
Well, I know this is a very simplistic answer, but I think the difference was literally who K-State played. KU wasn't good enough to take advantage of Brown being limited and Gilbert being out, and Texas was.
Yeah,
I mean, it's the same exact thing. Brown had the 2 carries against KU, and that was it. Yep. This time, again, he was still limited, and Trotter was the same as he was against KU, but it's just Texas is better. Texas is better than KU, and that's to me. I mean, I know that's like I said. Some people don't like. That's not a very complex answer, but I think that's just the truth. Texas is just better than KU, and they were able to actually exploit them not having the full complement of the running backs.
This was the Texas team that kind of went to the wire with LSU.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and went to the wire with Kansas.
Well, that's true.
So it's when they want. When they want to.
They were a lot healthier than when they played Kansas.
I got that.
I always come back to this. You're Texas, for God's sakes. You have an injury. I know there's a reason you have a first string and a second string, but you're still Texas. You should have someone that can step in at all spots and play. It's hard to feel too sorry for them in that category. I think K-State will be fine coming out of this. My concern is exactly what Kellis said, that it wasn't the personnel, it was the scheme, and everyone will replicate it from here on out until K-State can prove they can overcome that. But I don't think West Virginia, my gut would be West Virginia and Tech can't replicate that. Maybe Iowa State, I don't know.
Of the 3, they'll be the best.
You certainly wish you probably had Tech in Manhattan and Iowa State up there, then you probably got 8 wins. But Kellis is right. You put Tech on the road and Iowa State home, and both of those games get iffy. They've got to just hit the reset, come back, get win number 7. Man, I think we can all agree on that. There's just nothing else to do at this point, but they are ahead of schedule. Defensively, though, you guys kind of touched on it, Kellis. I thought the K-State defense did enough to keep this team in this game and give them an opportunity to win. And I'm just blown away by how much better the K-State defense is this season.
Yeah, Scotty Hazelton's done a great job scheming with what he has, and he did another great job in this game. It just wasn't quite enough. If there's one play you want to gripe about a little bit, it's the 3rd and 14. I'm not a D coordinator. I don't know what I would recommend to do differently, but
sometimes it doesn't work.
Yeah, but otherwise, they did give up a lot of yards. What do they have? 477. So that's not ideal. And the yards per rush hurt them, but
which was 6.
Yeah,
they averaged 7.3 a play.
Still, though, every game has anybody scored over their average against K-State this season?
That's a good question.
Well, obviously Oklahoma had come into that game averaging right at 50, so they
were under.
They were under.
It just seems like they always have a good scheme. Like, it doesn't matter, and personnel doesn't seem to matter. They beat Mississippi State without Hubert and Neal. They hung with Texas without Parker. We were talking about Texas, having next man up in there. It's like the depth really hasn't been the big issue we thought it would be on defense. It's been a issue, but it hasn't been backbreaking.
It makes you long for the staff to stay together and see what they do on the recruiting trail.
Yeah,
I agree. I would be worried.
Add a little speed in there.
Because speaking of, right quick, Fitzy, sorry to take a right turn. I don't know the exact numbers, so forgive me, but Deuce Vaughn, the night before, I had 3 separate people just come up and talk to me, all Texas guys. One was on the chain gang, but that guy ran for over 400 yards in a playoff win Friday night. His team won like 77-69. Yeah, he's like, you guys are getting the real deal. He's small. Every one of them said, he's small. Well, that's okay.
That's K-State will take that.
But he can fly.
I mean, that gets back to the core Snyder philosophy in 1.0. They'll give up everything but speed. I mean, you can be too small, but if you're fast, you can be Tank Reese. You can be too small by everyone else's standards to be a nose tackle, but if you're fast, we'll take you. And he was a great player for K-State. But certainly that has held true for a guy named Lockett, a guy named Sproles, and other tiny guys that have have done well at Kansas State because it's about speed.
And to Kellis's point, the defense, I think, loves playing for Scotty Hazelton.
Oh, yeah.
He's all over the map. He's enthusiastic. Yep. He's jacked up. He's 30 to 30. He'll get out on the field and high-five guys, applauds them and chews on them. But I think if you went man by man, these kids are going to tell you they love playing for the Beard.
Well, I can only obviously kind of judge, too, based off just our weekly interactions with him, but he seems to be able to balance really well, like you said, being really demanding, but also having a really good personality. And I think the players, I just feel like so many players nowadays, they don't respond well to maybe just the old school, completely tough love approach. So I think they appreciate that he also seems to have a lot of fun and likes to, like the thing he was joking about with, was it Boom Massey saying about he moves around like me out there sometimes with his bad hip and stuff. So I think players appreciate that. I mean, they want you to be tough and help them get better, but I just think I don't know. I just don't think players today respond as well to just a constant just negativity. I'm only going to dole out praise in extremely small, if at all, doses. I don't know. Maybe that's me jumping to too big a conclusion there.
I think it's been a good sign, too, that did you notice when they played both Oklahoma and Texas, they both had to resort to flea flickers to go deep against them?
It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. And I mean, Texas, obviously, as the game went on, found some other ways to win by putting it on the ground and mixing it up a little bit. But, yeah, their first touchdown pass was on a flea flicker.
Coach Kleiman's reaction coming out of halftime, when I talked to him for 30, 45 seconds, he's like, yeah, they scored on a trick play, whatever. It's like, that's a good point.
They're really good, too, at, what do you call it, quick change. They don't let the other team just really take advantage there. Like when Mason Barta had that fumble, they made a punt. There have been a lot of times this season where the other team looks like, okay, momentum's going to shift, Kansas State's going to lose, this is the turning point, and it just doesn't work out that way.
It just struck me that this game was one of those that was played so closely on the scoreboard that one play or one call flipping could have changed the outcome of the game. Dalton Schoen makes that catch.
Yeah.
Been a spectacular catch. He never really quite had the hold of the ball.
And that throw was ridiculous.
That was unbelievable. That Skylar Thompson is going to take advantage of most of those defenses. Most of those defenses, personnel-wise, is going to make that play on Dalton Schoen, and he might bring that in. Mason Barta doesn't fumble. There was I can't remember exactly where in the game it was. Malik Knowles was running crossing pattern. A guy just latched onto his jersey and nothing was called. Yep. All those little things that happen in the course of a game. I'm not saying they lost because of the officials, but if that call happens, if that drop doesn't happen, if that fumble doesn't happen, this whole game might have flipped over and changed. If Texas has got to score a touchdown to win, are they as relaxed on offense? As K-State defense in the same mentality. You just don't know what's going to happen.
Well, to go back to what you guys said, though, about the pass coverage and the defense against Ellinger and the receivers, I mean, that was what my sidebar after the game was, and I'm not trying to – obviously, I would love people to go read it. But the story, basically is that, Walter Neal thought that they did as well as they could. I mean, again, he gets an interception. And Kelly, this is what you said. You said their first passing touchdown. That was their only passing touchdown. Was on that flea flicker. And he's like, and he brings up, okay, people want to look at the final stats and say, okay, he only had 7 incompletions. But hey, he's like, it's not like they were just throwing bombs on us, and he's like, they were a lot of these little quick outs and guys making a lot of yards after the catch.
And again, I don't understand why the opposing offense is not trying that more. Oklahoma didn't do a lot of it. KU didn't do a lot of it, and Texas didn't. They didn't try to get Johnson down the sideline or Duvernay very deep. They did not try to throw many home run balls. I think there's respect for what K-State is doing defensively. And to me, the interesting thing was Kevian McGee was outguarding Colin Johnson, and this was in the second half. And Texas was trying to single him up, and Johnson made a couple of catches, and then right away it got flipped, and Walter Neal came over. And Johnson really did not do much from that point on. But these smallish corners, minus A.J. Parker, did just what you said. I think they did about as well as they could against that offense on Saturday.
Well, and here's another stat, is that on Texas' depth chart, they have, I want to say, 4 guys who are, like I said, 6'4", taller receiver. And K-State's tall. And again, I'm just going only by the listed numbers. I mean, I know sometimes they're maybe off an inch or two. K-State only has 1 receiver who's 5'11" or above, and that's Parker. So they were out there playing
cornerback or
corner. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm talking about specifically of the cornerbacks. I apologize. Guys who are out there playing cornerback. Parker is the only one who's 5'11" or above, and obviously he's not available. So all the other ones are 5'10" and below.
What is he? 6 foot?
No. He's listed as 5'11" on the rest.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that's even optimistic from looking at it.
Well, just from doing interviews with him, he certainly does not seem. No. That does seem like, I'd say, at least 2 inches generous.
I think people aren't going attempting the home run ball, is they know Wyatt Huber could take their quarterback's head off. They just don't want to risk. There's a risk reward there, and the risk is pretty substantial that you could lose your quarterback.
He popped Ellinger a couple times, pretty good.
And it's nice having that speed rush defensive end that puts fear in the heart of the offense coordinator because it changes everything. Because I am a little bit surprised. Just take that shot. KU, take that shot. But then what are you going to do with your backup quarterback in there?
And actually, it's funny you bring up Hubert because he was also quoted in my story, and he said that he took some of the blame, and he said him and the other linemen have to kind of take it on the chin too. That he's like, knowing that Parker's out, knowing how tough these receivers are, we didn't do a good enough job getting pressure on Ellinger for the most part. They finished with 2 sacks and no other quarterback hurries, and. He said, and he gave a great answer. He just says because that Ellinger is so good at running the RPO. He's like, they would start out playing the run, and then you'd see he'd do the pass. And he's like, well, by then, we're already in our technique of fitting the run, and it's like it's just tough. And so he just really was very much lauding how good Ellinger was at kind of keeping them off balance.
Yeah, I'd take him. He's pretty good leader, pretty good quarterback. Texas as a program continues to mystify all of us, though. I think we can agree on that. Well, let's take a little break here on the Powercat Insiders podcast, sponsored by Commerce Bank. We got some hoops to talk about. We'll look forward for K-State football and put this Texas loss in the rearview mirror. And, of course, we have that great Southern rant from Ryan Black still awaiting us. We don't know what it is. It was going to be rental cars. Now he's got to change because that all worked out. That's a cliffhanger.
Stay locked in. The Powercat Podcast will be right back.
Selling a little or a lot? Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. From the launch your online shop stage, to the first real-life store stage, all the way to the did we just hit 1 million orders stage. Shopify's here to help you grow. Whether you're selling scented soap or offering outdoor outfits, Shopify helps you sell everywhere. From their all-in-one e-commerce platform to their in-person POS system, wherever and whatever you're selling, Shopify's got you covered. Shopify helps you turn browsers into buyers with the internet's best converting checkout. 15% better on average compared to other leading commerce platforms. And sell more with less effort thanks to Shopify Magic, your AI-powered all-star. Shopify powers 10% of all e-commerce in the U.S. And Shopify is the global force behind Allbirds, Rothy's, and Brooklinen, and millions of other entrepreneurs of every size across 175 countries. Plus, Shopify's award-winning 24/7 help is there to support your success every step of the way. Because businesses that grow with Shopify. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/Odyssey Podcast, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Odyssey Podcast now to grow your business, no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/Odyssey Podcast. Your fever is high and the pressure to log in at work is too. But when you finally decide to take care of you, there's Instacart. Just because that one perfect coworker of yours is attending all meetings, camera on while she's sneezing, coughing, and aching, doesn't mean you have to do the same. Take it from us. Trying to stay on top of things will only get you further behind. Instead, get everything from tissues and teas to cough suppressants and comforting soups delivered through Instacart in as fast as 30 minutes. If anyone needs anything, they can just redirect their questions to that one perfect coworker of yours.
We now send it back to Fitz in the WTC gig-powered studios.
Welcome back to the Powercat Insiders podcast, sponsored by Commerce Bank. K-State lost to Texas 27-24. You know that. Let's move on. Let's not talk about that anymore. Let's talk a little bit about K-State basketball, and let's look forward for the Wildcats as they have 3 games down. The stretch here, they're 75% done with the season. Matt Walters, how did that happen? How did 75% of the season happen already?
Time flies, bud.
It really
The older
does.
we get, the faster it moves. I didn't believe that until about 35.
Oh, it does. It really does. You know what else flies? is your service you'll receive at Commerce Bank.
Thank you. Whatever financial challenges come your way, Commerce Bank can be right there and help. Commerce Bank challenge accepted.
There we go. That's called a setup there, Ryan Black.
I mean, I want to say that your voice sounds a lot better than I recall some of the more recent podcasts. It just sounds more.
You looking at me or?
No, I mean him. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I mean you're all. I mean you're
What do you
always.
mean my voice sounds better?
It just sounds. I don't know. It just sounds maybe more. I just didn't know. Maybe some of the other weeks, maybe you've already done so many podcasts and you've talked a lot that.
Maybe it's the fact that I've just been in Vegas with smoky casinos.
Maybe that's it. And maybe, I mean.
A little more bass.
Yeah, that's what it just sounds different in my headphones. Kellis thinks I'm crazy. I probably am.
Now we go over to Kellis Robinette.
I know what the crowd was listed at Saturday, but I'm sure that wasn't it. What was the crowd like at Thomas and Mack?
Well, I don't know the capacity of that place. I didn't pay that much attention to the capacity. I didn't type up the preview. It was a decent crowd.
Oh.
It really was. Supplemented by a number of K-Staters. It was just a weird environment. I think as my next career, I want to be the hype man at UNLV basketball. A guy walking around with the microphone on the court, being the hype guy. Thought he was the coolest dude in the world. Everything's like, yeah. We need everything from you now. Your heart, your soul. It's your rebels. It's just over-the-top crap. And it's like, I could do over-the-top crap. I'm in.
Was it kind of like professional wrestling kind of hype
what I
stuff?
was thinking.
A little bit. It really was.
Did he like call out like, I see all you ugly K-Staters and I'll take any one of you that want to come down?
He didn't call out the K-Staters, but boy, he had fun calling out, people for positive reasons.
Oh,
Like
okay.
some
Well,
kid,
good.
The dance cam, some kid. That's how you do it, Rebel fans, right there. Yeah, okay.
Do they still have a Vegas celebrity introduce the team, or is that over? They used to do that when Kruger coached there. They'd have a different the last game I covered at UNLV, they had Carrot Top.
No,
Oh, Lord.
Now that's a Vegas celebrity. That is a guy that only in one realm in the entire face of the earth is he a celebrity.
One game, Carrot Top. Next game, Celine Dion.
And it's not just Carrot Top, it's steroid Carrot Top in Vegas.
Ripped. He
was jacked.
You kind of sounded like Triple H when you did what you did a moment ago.
Oh, good.
By the way.
Yeah.
That's good. I look like him too, right?
Did Wayne Newton ever introduce the team?
I'm sure he did.
I hope so.
In the 70s.
Yeah, back in the real Ren and Rebels era, he was the guy probably.
I could have had Kelly in Vegas introduce him.
He and Tark were probably best buds.
Yeah, Tark. Well, anyhow, it was a good win for Kansas State.
Yeah.
But they scored 16 points in the first half, guys. It was, what was it, 27-16 at half? I can't remember the score.
I think it was 20-16.
It was 23-16.
Okay. I knew it was 20-something.
It set basketball back a number of years because it wasn't particularly good defense on either side of the ball. It was just team struggling to score. And then Xavier Sneed goes down. And one of those moments where it looks like the only solution is amputation because he's in so much pain. Speaking of professional wrestling, he looked like this was the end of his career. And they help him off the court, and then comes back for the second half and starts hitting three-pointers.
So he Paul pierced it.
There was two hands down, two slaps on the mat, and that third one just right in the last second, they pulled it back up like pro wrestling, and he got up and won the fight.
Man, that sounds like an amazing game that you saw. That it was actually a wrestling match.
Yeah, and for as, I don't want to say they played poorly, for as uneven as Kansas State played, they did what last year's Big 12 champions couldn't do. Won a non-conference game on the road, and they found a way to do it in all of its ugliness, got it tied at 48. They trailed for good chunks of that game, and they kind of just kept clawing away. They got it tied, and then they were the better team in overtime.
Bruce lamented having Vegas as the number 2 game on the schedule. Mm-hmm. He lamented that thing like crazy. I disagreed. I thought it was awesome. You have to do that. You can only play Arkansas Pine Bluff and Towson and Mississippi Valley State and
USC Upstate.
that Northern Arizona.
That's my favorite, by the way.
You can only play
USC
them so
upstate,
many times.
No, and again, that was one that's near and dear to me in terms of, like, it's just so close to where my parents live. I'm very familiar.
Bruce would like to play them every game, though.
Yeah.
That's a region of South Carolina, right? They refer to it upstate.
It's called the upstate. Again, it's called, like, the upstate is like these three cities right up 85, which you went down when you were driving from Charlotte down to Atlanta. Greenville, Spartanburg, Anderson. Greenville, Spartanburg is where they have the giant BMW plant, which now produces more BMWs than any place in the world, more than Germany or anywhere else.
Fun fact
there you go.
for the week.
There you go. Yeah, tell your friends.
Was that really that fun, though?
I thought it was kind of cool. I didn't know.
In terms of the rest of this podcast, that was fantastic. That was fantastic.
It's funner than any facts I've thrown out.
Yeah.
Funner is not a word. You should know that.
The word is funly. But you know what? The freshmen are freshmen, but they all can play, man. It's all there. I mean, Dejuan Gordon hit a big three-pointer. Montavious Murphy had a three-point play that was huge. They just kind of – Antonio wasn't as much a factor in this game. But, you know, it's all there. This team needs to kind of put it together. They're going to struggle with offense. I think that's a reality, Kels, that K-Staters have got to come to grips with. This team offensively, at least in the short term, is going to be a struggle. And the two leaders have to step up and score points. They did. Snead this time. Jada first game. They took too many shots in Vegas, but it's just going to be a journey.
Especially in the first half, apparently. That's what happened. They can't score. What did they have against
was it 22?
That first game?
20.
It was 22-21.
And they were trailing, yeah. So
it was 21? Yeah.
21 and 16, so they're averaging a smooth...
great. It's an uneven number.
18.5 points in the first half. Probably won't cut it as the season goes on. But, hey, I mean, 2-0. I'm with Matt here. I like the early road game. Get the win.
Get out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, why not? With some freshmen. I mean, they worked out for them a few years ago when they beat Georgia. That was a nice sign for things to come. So, maybe
I agree.
Just does the same thing.
I thought even if they had lost this game, they learned something from it. Just get out of that comfort zone, go someplace, play in front of a different crowd. And I think although last year's team lost these kind of games, they gained in the long term. Then they were good in Big 12 play on the road, which was kind of a weird change of fortune.
Well, yeah, and it was to all your guys' point here is like that was like kind of an oft-repeated stat, I guess, heading into Saturday's game. Was that's the earliest road game in history for K-State in terms of the date.
That's a little deceiving stat, though. This season is just starting early.
I recognize the accuracy of that stat.
They've started seasons on the road before.
I'm bothered by a lot of these stats where that's the most three-pointers inside it. I'm like, well, they only had it for the past 20
that
years. That's the most, scoring records all kind of change a little bit for me. That's the most wins in a season. Well, they play more games. All these things are like, but starting early, this season's ridiculous. Why not just start it in September? Why not run it simultaneous to football if you're going to do this?
Do you know, it's funny, I had this discussion with my brother on the phone a couple of weeks ago, is that, and I know other people, you guys have probably seen this kind of theory tossed out there, is like maybe they shouldn't start college basketball till like maybe Thanksgiving or something like that.
I'm for after the new year.
Yeah, I'd like it to be a one-semester sport.
I agree.
Okay. Well, that went in a totally different direction than what I thought.
I'm a fan of that. Just start it in January, have May Madness. You'll still be done before the NBA playoffs start. It's amazing to even think about that.
Well, I guess I hadn't thought about that. I just was thinking about how far back you'd end up pushing the season.
It's ridiculous that we're playing basketball in early November.
Most people, I think, want to move it to a one-semester sport, but CBS pays so much money for it to be the lead into the Masters that until that's done with.
Does that really matter that much?
That's always been the excuse that's been given to me, is that CBS wouldn't pay so much for it.
90% of the people watching the college basketball tournament are like, the Masters, I don't care.
That's because you don't play.
I just feel like if you care about it, you're going to watch it. And if you don't care about it, you're not going to go, oh, that sounds good. Jim Nance sounds sexy there. I think I'll watch golf. I think if you're in on the Masters. It's like NASCAR. You can advertise it a lot, and I still won't watch it unless I'm really bored.
Oh, and I'm all in on the Masters. I mean, obviously it's setting up with the way Rory McIlroy is playing right now, and Brooks Koepka's hurt, but Tiger just won, tied Sam Snead's all-time PGA Tour record for wins. I mean, should be a fun one, in Augusta.
But this proves my point. Nobody's like.
As bad as I'm saying that, there's not nearly there is not nearly as many people who are going to tune in to golf who are just casual sports fans as compared to college basketball or the NBA or the NFL. That's just the way it is. Unless it's Tiger Woods.
I'm going to be selfish. I don't necessarily want basketball to be a one-semester sport. If that happens, then college baseball needs to be moved back, and they need to play that into June/July.
I'm all for that.
Then I'll be all right with it.
No, I'm all for that. I think that should be the breakdown of the sports.
FYI.
That's for your information, Ryan.
Or FWIW. This year, I don't remember this.
Wait, what? Am I missing something here?
Yeah, I'll get back to that. I don't remember this ever happening. K-State's baseball schedule this year, they play a home-and-home with Wichita.
Nice.
The game at Wichita is in February.
Well, it's south of here, so it'll probably be tropical weather.
Yeah, got to take advantage of that warm weather climate.
Yeah.
Early.
See, in the South, FYI, it's for y'all's information.
They're just playing 2 games.
Oh,
one there, one here.
Okay.
What's that?
Okay.
So they're just playing one game Wichita, one here. Okay.
Always a home and home. Usually it's one in April, one in May. Not this year.
Yeah, February is early for that one.
Well, the reason I brought up what I did about the potential of moving it is I just feel bad that outside of the schools that are just so pro basketball in terms of Duke or North Carolina, KU, whatever, it just gets lost.
It does.
And to me, that's just like a disservice to the players and coaches who are obviously working hard. And just for the most part, you're not going to have as much fan attention until football ends.
Saturday was unfair to the K-State fans.
No question. Especially the fact they had to choose.
Yeah, they had to choose. I was surprised how many K-Staters went to the basketball game. I really was. I mean, I had people tell me, football's on. I think I'm just going to watch it. I mean, that's where they're emotionally invested right now.
And the harder thing is also that you have so many more basketball games. People are like, well, okay, you only get 12 football games plus one or more if you're in.
I was impressed with the crowd at the North Dakota State game. K-State is infamously.
I thought it was small.
Emphasized.
Infamously.
Thank you.
Oh, I thought you were saying emphasized.
No.
Waiting until after football before they invest. And I thought the student section at least was pretty good in that game.
I'm looking forward to the crowd to see.
Go. Nobody else went though. The whole opposite side was purple.
Yeah, that's just hard. That's again, we're talking about people that are asked to come over for football, and then coming in town for a midweek basketball game against. Honestly, a team like North Dakota State.
They were an NCAA tournament team.
I understand that, but it doesn't turn anyone's. Right. Playing them has value to the program in terms of your resume or whatever, but it doesn't push the needle with fans.
I have one last basketball thing to say. What was just totally ridiculous last week is that the ACC played games against one another.
Oh, yeah, that was awful.
I am not a Jim Boeheim fan. He's a phenomenal coach, has won, but that was nuts. That was ridiculous. I don't know why they did it.
Well, for the ACC network.
Right, he said for
ACC network.
It was a money play. I get that, but
he went on a rant about it, and I found that I now have 2 things I agree with Jim Boeheim or share in common: prostate cancer and the fact that starting your conference first game of the season. Other than that, the guy's a total jackass. Yeah, I don't agree with anything he says.
What about your lack of hair?
That too. That's a third thing.
3 things.
Actually, I have more than he does.
You do.
Yeah, if I grew it out, I'd be a hippie.
And you have glasses.
Yeah, 4 things.
You're really digging.
Sorry, we just keep
but
going.
You're finding it.
I'm sorry, but I wanted to say.
Do you like the color orange as well?
Not really. It's just not in my color wheel.
It's not in his
as Dean Wade would say.
Well, and in Syracuse's orange is such a more of a loud orange, a la Clemson or Tennessee.
Parking lot attendant, hunter safety orange.
Well, is it just to me? That's what makes, and I hope it's not going to get me in trouble with people listening. I mean, that's what to me makes Texas's color so cool because there's just not another school off the top of my head to me that has that color orange.
I agree.
It's not as garish.
What's your rant?
Well, it's a very general one. I'm just such an idiot because, like, okay, I had left.
Okay, that was a good rant.
Well, it's that I'm transferring stuff out of the rental car back into my car. I'd forgotten because I was just trying to get everything cleared off. I'd forgotten I still had a little bit of coffee left in it and just spilled it all over my clothes that I was transporting. And I'm like, see, and it's white. So, I mean, I don't know anything about anything when it comes to laundry and actual real human stuff. Like that you should know as a person living on your own. And I'm like, man, this is going to be a tough stain to get out, I think. And I'm very worried about it.
What'd you get the coffee on? Pants?
No, I mean, it's a white.
A jacket?
It's a white.
Were you wearing white seersucker in the car?
No. No, I'm saying no. I spilled it. No, I spilled it on like the clothes that were hanging on They were hanging on a hanger.
Oh,
not on me because
you felt like you had to carry what I do. You got to carry it all out at once.
That's exactly right. Yeah, and I should not have done that.
I'm balancing stuff. It's ridiculous.
I'm like that GIF of the guy trying to transport like 500 things to his car wash, and then all of it just falls. You guys have seen that GIF a lot.
I have not.
Yeah, you just look up like
talk to the baseball managers at K-State because they can get everything white.
Wow.
So do it.
Man, it's a nice plug for them.
Although I don't know where they're washing their clothes right now because
it's under construction.
The stadium's all.
When's that going to be ready?
They're supposed to have it done first of the year. They're on target right now.
Okay.
It's going to be nice. That's all you had for a rant, though?
Well, the car rental thing worked out, so I was very worked up about that. But then it worked out, so now I'm not as worked up about it.
That was more of just like a disappointing story than a rant.
Well, I'm sorry.
Where's the passion? Where's the anger in his voice?
Why don't you rant for the fact that it's 2019 and we still have to climb in a tube with a pilot to get anywhere fast, and we don't have the ability to transport ourselves from point A to point B safely, like in Star Trek. We should be able to do that.
Your rant should be that your bosses won't pay for you to go to Austin. That's your rant.
Oh, that's...
Come on, Mercury, step up. Let it fly.
Next week's rant can be about getting fired.
I'm just saying I will respectfully decline to comment publicly on such matters that are internal to my company because we keep things in-house, like a sports team. At least we're supposed to.
Go team.
So I did have one last basketball thought I just wanted to say just because we haven't talked about because, again, the game happened after we did the podcast, but how big of a win potentially North Dakota State was. Because, as you said, first time in more...
I predicted they'd lose. I thought they would lose because that's a good team, a tournament team that returned almost everything.
Yep.
So the first half was kind of the way I thought the entire game would go. And we saw that Cardiajada is very capable of taking over a game.
Oh, yeah.
And it was impressive. It was almost like the second half of the K-State football game. He said, I'm a better athlete than you guys. I'm better than you guys physically, and I'm going to win this game.
And they went to the rim instead of shooting threes.
Yep. Yeah, that was the other thing. 1 for 12 in the first half.
It needed to happen earlier.
They were 0-10 in Vegas.
Oh.
So now they're 1 of 22 in the first half shooting threes.
Oh. They probably should stop doing that then. Like, just don't take a three-pointer until you come out for the second half.
The all 2-point team. They can have shirts that have 2 greater than 3. The opposite of what.
I like it.
Greg Woods' head would explode because he hates. He's like one of those analytical. It's like just a 3-pointer is always a better shot than a 2-pointer because not if you don't make it. That's what I would say. Not if you don't make it.
So I'm watching the Dean Wade highlights when he's going off in the G League,
the G League.
F League, whatever it is.
Well, it used to be the D League.
I know.
Now it's the G League because it got sponsorship.
Yeah, I know. It's like changing the name of the Masters to something else. I can't follow.
The Southern Open.
Right, exactly. And he's shooting these deep 3-pointers and just stroking them like, where was this in college? I mean, he was literally almost always a guy on my toes at the line. Let's shoot it. And they can, if you had someone that could stretch a defense that way, it changes everything. If you got a guy, and Wandu, putting it up there now from that distance, that can shoot it from 22 feet, it really changes how you have to defend.
He finally realized he's a good shooter, I guess.
He's realized that he can play with authority and he can shoot the ball, and I know it's just highlights, but I'm like, dude, that's all we wanted, man. That's all we were looking for on a consistent basis was assertive, badass Dean Wade. Superhero Dean Wade instead of, I'll pass the ball to you, Dean Wade.
Just got to keep his foot healthy.
Oh, I know.
/ feet healthy.
I know.
Did y'all see DJ Johnson's playing in the G League? How about that? Good for him. Hey, Jinx. I didn't realize that he was, I didn't even realize he was still playing. But, yeah, good for him.
Yeah, so to finish my basketball thought, because we all jumped in on that.
What's Barry doing? Has Barry had a good game yet?
Where's Kamau?
Go ahead, Ryan.
Just that you said it, Fitz, is that, again, if North Dakota State ends up being as good as we think they can be, that win, especially if K-State is on the bubble.
So how good do you think North Dakota State is? I mean, at best, they're only like a 15 seed. But
it's the fact that they're a tournament team, and that, like we said,
they were in the play-in game last year.
But they were a conference champion.
For a bad conference. I don't think that's like a marquee victory. I mean, what's their...
I think maybe his point is that by the end of the year, if North Dakota State wins the Summit like they should, that win will look a little bit better.
Yes, and I'm just saying that it will show the tournament committee, again, that K-State didn't schedule these, like,
the bad
Sisters
teams.
of the Poor.
Better than a win against Pine Bluff.
That's what I'm saying. That's all I'm getting at, Kellis. I'm not trying to say that it's like going on the road and beating Duke. Yeah,
but taking this point a little bit further, I agree with that. I think North Dakota State's a better win than anyone else in that conference if you're going to schedule stuff in that conference. I'm worried about the overall value of this non-conference schedule being Tom Asbury-like. Get to the end of the non-conference schedule, and there's really not much substance in there for the committee to reward you.
The hard part is the games they play in Florida against Pittsburgh, who just lost to Nichols.
Yeah, that was
like Northwestern or Bradley. Are they going to be any good?
Exactly.
I don't know. Tulsa, they'll lose to them.
Oh, God. I'm already dreading watching that game. This has been awful basketball the last 2 years.
I mean, they should just go ahead and lose the game. Their seasons turn out pretty good when they lose to Tulsa.
That's a good point.
But they'll lose that, 20-18.
I'm very interested in seeing what the crowd looks like for the Marquette game when they come to town.
Fully clothed.
It'll be legit.
That's what it'll look like.
Well, I hope so.
Well, let's wind this up
I'm trying to look up what North Dakota State is ranked in Ken Palm. I'm still scrolling.
Let me switch over.
164. 164.
So that puts them in like almost the top half of the. Because how many? Is there 300?
Top half is an accomplishment now.
Well, I mean,
it's better than most.
I'm just saying it's better than the 300s they were playing. They've played that I've seen here in the past couple.
I
of
wonder
seasons.
what Arkansas Pine Bluff is. You guys talk.
329.
Let's go down to 300s.
Because I'm trying to remember. Is it 331 now in the NCAA, or is it even more than that? I'm just trying to remember how many D1 teams there are.
465.
Matt, are you as we shift over here to football again?
341 is Arkansas Pine
close.
Bluff.
Oh, crap. I didn't even know there were that many teams.
Out of 353.
353, okay.
Mississippi
I was trying to
Valley
remember.
State is 353. Are they on the schedule?
Not this year.
Maryland Eastern Shore, they're down there. They played them once.
You know who I guess Mississippi Valley State's most famous grad is?
Jerry Rice.
There you go. Matt got it.
What were you going to ask me before?
See, that was football. See, look how it shifted back. Like, see?
Does the loss Saturday mean anything in the big picture?
To Texas?
Yeah. I mean...
No.
I mean, other than the fact they could have won 10 games, that obvious it's a loss instead of a win, but it doesn't, does it?
Nope. As you said some time ago, just go beat West Virginia.
I mean, you don't, other than the defensive scheme, do you leave that game with any opposing defensive schemes? Do you leave that game in Austin with any greater concerns about this K-State team than maybe you knew about before?
Not really. I mean, to me, it was still just a missed opportunity.
It was a missed opportunity.
Because, I mean, you go up 14-0 on the road, you win that game, all of a sudden, you realistically are in the Big 12 championship game hunt. You could have made it if things break right. Now, there's very, very little chance. And, that's okay. They're still on track to win 7, 8, maybe even 9 games in Chris Kleiman's first year, which would be incredible. Way better than I thought. So no, I thought Texas was going to win and cover the spread in that game.
How many wins did you have them for this year, Kellis? 4?
6.
6? Okay.
I had them 6.
At one point, I thought they were going to win 3 or 4 games, but then
I remember on that the car ride we had with D. Scott to the Catbackers thing in KC, and we were joking about how Dalton Reisner was going to show up and say that it really inspired this year's team that you picked them to only win 4 games or 3 games.
I was more pessimistic than once I saw them practice.
Yeah.
And heard the way they were.
And that was the same day that we saw the news about Isaiah Zuber announcing he was transferring to Mississippi State.
I was.
So let me map it out. I started the season. I was 6 wins, and then I became 4 or 5 wins, and then I became like 10 wins, and then I'm back to like 7 or 8 wins.
Well, see, but that's what makes this job great, right? Is you can just continually just changing things you get more information.
And then at some point you can say, I told you so.
Yeah, you told me.
No matter what happened, I told you.
You just say,
so.
just go back to what I said on whatever date and don't look at any other dates.
Right. Oh, yeah. Don't
And
research
I
this
can
thing,
tell
trust
you
me.
that I predicted they would win that many games. So,
But, Ryan, wouldn't this game was like that opportunity you had at the high school dance to kiss the pretty girl, and it didn't happen.
God.
But then 2 weeks later, you had a girlfriend, and you were like, yeah, I don't care I didn't get to kiss the pretty girl. I've got this chick now.
wow, we are really delving into hypotheticals here. Like, that's not even close to what happened in my high school career. I didn't have a girlfriend until I was 26. Hell.
Well, that's just sad.
Hang in there.
And now she's engaged. I mean, what does that say about me? I do have a cat, though.
That's just gosh, this
Company.
just went sad.
Oh, God. I'm
Anyhow.
sorry. What was the question?
But you go beat West Virginia, you go win at Tech, and you're like, okay,
You can come on here and lie up a little bit.
Yeah.
on
Oh,
the
you're
show.
right.
You don't
I
have
mean,
to
I'm.
be that honest.
Yeah, I don't know. I just.
Well, anyhow.
I'm honest to a fault.
You were homecoming king in high school.
Oh,
Come on,
yeah,
try
of course.
it again.
Yeah.
Let's just erase that part of the tape and let him.
That's the inside.
Just let it roll. I did enjoy high school, though, God. I do want to make sure I've never been someone who, been depressed or anything like that.
Okay.
I've always had a good time.
Were you class president?
All I know, and I always joked with this
That's
teacher.
a yes or no question.
Yeah, where are you going with this?
No, I'm sorry. It is that I was told that I was one vote shy of being most likely to succeed. So that was.
Well, here you are. You're with us, so they got that one
But
right.
you're right. Yeah, they see me now and they're like, "Oh God, how'd I vote for him?"
You're hanging out with us. That's not really.
This has been good stuff from the WTC Gig Powered Studios.
Thank you.
Can I ask you guys one question?
What's up, Kellis?
Did what would y'all have done in that last with 39 seconds to go? And
I'm not a let them score guy. Never have been.
Do you decline it? Let him have the touchdown and try to win and try to tie with 39 seconds, or do you hope for a missed field goal? I think they did it right.
Based on what the offense had been doing, unless you had the top secret play like the Knowles thing that was going to work or probably going to work, you got to hope the defense and special team stops them. Because expecting your team to get the ball back and go score in 39 seconds, I think is irrational.
And Texas had no desire to score a touchdown. Zero.
They weren't going to take any chances. They absolutely were not taking chances there. They weren't going to throw it. They weren't going to do anything that could fumble it.
You threw out about 4 ifs earlier. If this, if that. Granted, the way things were being sequenced, had K-State had that third timeout, that might have played a little bit of a different role late in the game.
Yeah.
The one thing I maybe would have done is, Chris Klieman was telling the guys to try to strip the ball at all costs. I would have just said, if you can't put you down in your first try, then push them into the end zone. Make sure they score so we get the ball back faster. Because with 39 seconds, I mean, that offense only had 58 yards in the second half. I had very little faith that they were going to tie the game. But it is interesting. As it happened, I thought, wow, if you can decline that penalty, that's an interesting choice. Because Cameron Dicker's really good. It's pretty unlikely he's going to miss.
He wasn't going to miss, but maybe you block it. Maybe it's a bad snap. I saw that in the Chiefs game.
I would rather take my chances on the kick going wrong.
Yep,
but
I would too.
It's an interesting. I don't certainly blame anybody for the way it happened.
Well, I didn't bring this up earlier when I said I think it's an encouraging loss. Again, if you can put aside blowing the 14-point lead, because yes, Texas did start getting more pressure on Skylar and things maybe went a little bit awry. But man, guys, there for a stretch of the first half, he looked amazing. Like every single pass was on the money. Everything just looked like he was in complete control of everything. And I just think, again, that now puts it on film for these last 3 opponents in the regular season that, hey, he had been so effective running the ball. But, I mean, hey, look at how good he can be if he really gets comfortable back in the pocket.
He lives in his own head. When he's good, he feels good.
He's very much a rhythm player.
When it starts to struggle, you can see it on his face. He's not
Imagine when he has more dudes around him.
Yep.
Exactly.
So I'm just saying that's what I would take as another encouraging thing is if you just tell Skylar, just look at how good you were for the majority of that first half. And again, you guys probably saw us tweet about and talk about, is it there for a long stretch of it? He just needed 2 more yards in the first half to set his career high for an entire game, and then it didn't come until midway through the third quarter. But I'm just saying that I think that he can take a lot of confidence from how he passed the ball Saturday.
Well, if it makes you better to have good dudes around you, this has been a great podcast because I got good dudes around me, even if one's lonely and owns a cat.
Well, I was homecoming king, as Kellis said. You don't remember that?
Yeah.
Class president, had every girl at school just
That's better. You should have said that.
feeling me up and stuff.
Oh. hey, yo.
Okay, maybe not. I mean, maybe somewhat.
We're gonna leave now. We apologize to Commerce Bank for the ending here. But if you need to feel up a bank, go see Matt Walters. We'll talk to you next week.
You've been listening to the Powercat Insiders Podcast, presented by Commerce Bank. Powercat Podcast. All rights reserved. GoPowercat.com and Spirit Street Publishing.
With Blue Link Plus, you can access your Hyundai Tucson Limited remotely. Doors unlocked, temperature set, lost car found.
There it is.
Get complimentary class-leading Blue Link Plus. Call 562-314-4603 for complete details.